everyone, I'm Michelle with Designs by JuJu, and in today's tutorial, we will be making the In the Hoop Nordic Ornaments Set 2. This project includes ornaments in 4 designs with 3 sizes included. I will be stitching the 4x4 size in today's tutorial. These ornaments are so easy to stitch and can be customized using a variety of unique and creative materials and fabrics. Let's get started. For the In the Hoop Nordic ornaments, you will need the following items. For today's tutorial, we are going to be using felt, but you can also create these ornaments using a variety of other materials, including embroidery vinyl, heat transfer vinyl. I used this and applied it to my felt for a fun and unique look. I also used burlap, and on one of my examples you'll see here at the end, I used some material. You will also need tearaway stabilizer, scissors, embroidery thread. I prefer Floriani for all of my embroidery projects, and some polyfill if you plan to stuff your ornament. All right, let's head over to the embroidery machine and let's get stitching. All right, we're over at my embroidery machine, and I am using my Brothers Stellaire for this project. I am going to be stitching the 4-inch stocking that comes in the Nordic Ornaments Set 2. There are actually 2 sets of ornaments available for purchase. I already have my tearaway stabilizer hooped into my 4x4 hoop. The first stitch is going to be the placement line for my fabric. Next, I'm going to place my felt directly on top of the placement line, making sure that all of the stitches are completely covered. You also want to have at least a 1/2 inch around that tack down line or that placement line so that you have enough room when you trim your ornament at the end. So I'm just going to place my fabric directly on top. Again, I'm using some felt. So I'm going to place my felt down, and I am going to run the tack down that's going to secure my felt to my stabilizer. For that tack down stitch, I would recommend using a thread color that matches the material that you are using. Since I'm using red felt, I used a red thread so that it kind of blends in with that felt. It isn't super obvious on my ornament. Okay, so the next stitch is going to be the decorative stitching that's going to go all over my ornament here. I'm going to switch to a different thread color, and for my stocking ornament, I'm going to use white thread. I'm going to stitch this decorative stitch off camera, and then we'll be almost finished with this ornament. All right, the decorative stitching has just completed, and so now I'm ready to add the backing to my ornament. So I'm going to remove my hoop from my machine, and I'm going to flip it over to the back side so that you can see what I'm working with. And now I am going to place my felt on the back. So whatever backing fabric you choose to use, I'm using red felt to match the front. And then I'm going to secure it in place using some paper medical tape. Again, I've talked about this many times, but if you happen to stitch this with your needle, it won't gunk it up. It just stitches right through and it removes so easily. So once you have the backing secured to your hoop, you're going to flip your hoop back over and place it on your machine. And we're going to run the next stitch, which is going to be the tack down to secure that backing fabric in place. I am going to, again, change my thread color to match because this is going to stitch directly over that initial tack down line that we used, and I want it to match the color of my felt, so I'm going to change it to red. The thing with this tack down line is it is going to leave a small opening here on the side of our stocking that we will close using a needle and some thread at the end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run this tack down stitch to secure my backing fabric in place. All right, and the final stitch that we are going to do is the eyelet that's going to stitch right up here at the top of my ornament. And again, I'm going to keep my red thread just so that it blends in with my felt. All right, my ornament is complete. So now I'm going to head over to my table and we're going to complete the assembly process. All right, so we're over at my work table here and we're ready to go ahead and finish off this adorable stocking ornament. So the first thing I need to do is remove it from my hoop. And I am going to tear away all of this excess stabilizer. This is why you want to use a tear away stabilizer, because you see how easily that removes from your ornament. And I'm just going to work my way all the way around, tearing away all the excess stabilizer, like so. And then the next step is going to be to stuff our ornament, if you choose to do this, with some polyfill. Now, here in a little bit, I'm going to show you some of the other ornaments that I've made, and I did not stuff all of them. Some of them I've left flat for different projects that I'm going to use. So this kind of gives you some freedom. You can either stuff it or you don't have to. But as you can see here, this is the back side of my ornament. There's a small opening here that our sewing machine, or that my embroidery machine left when it stitched that vinyl tack down stitch that secured the backing fabric. And I'm going to locate that opening, and right through there is where I'm going to place all of my polyfill stuffing. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll show you what that looks like once I have it stuffed with some polyfill. All right, so here's what my ornament looks like now that I have some stuffing in it. And as you can see, I kind of tried to push that stuffing in using my finger all the way up into this top part. You won't be able to put any at the eyelet, because if you remember, that was the final stitch that we did that secured that backing. So that part will not allow you to put any stuffing at the top, which is fine because that's where you'll hang your ornament. So now what I'm ready to do is I'm going to use a needle and some thread to stitch close that opening right along the side there. So again, I'm going to do that portion off camera, and then we'll be ready to trim our ornament. Okay, here is my completed ornament. I just stitched close that opening, and so now I am ready to finish this off. So I am going to use some pinking shears to give my ornament a cute design around that outside edge. Just make sure that as you are trimming around your ornament that you do not cut any of those tack down stitches. You don't want to accidentally nick one of those and then your whole ornament come undone. This is also why it was super important that we left a 1/2 inch excess fabric all the way around our ornament. This gives us plenty of room to trim our ornament in any length that we want around the outer edge. We can give it any size of a border that we prefer. I am going to trim this with my pinking shears, and then we'll check out our final product. How cute is that? Look how fluffy it is. And again, you don't have to fill yours with as much stuffing as I did, but I like it plump and squishy like that. Okay, so now I am ready to finish this off, and I am going to use my crocodile to punch a hole up here. You do not have to go out and purchase this tool, but I absolutely love this for punching out holes with fabric. And then again, this step is optional, but I like to add an eyelet to my projects. These stitches up here are reinforced, so it's completely not necessary, but I just like the finished look that it gives my project. So I just like to put an eyelet in these holes like so. And then you can add any additional embellishments that you prefer. All right, there we go. I got my eyelet added. Look how cute. Okay, so now I'm going to just tie a cute little bow to the top here. I'm just going to finish off this ornament with some twine. You could hang it. You could add some burlap twine, some jute twine, whatever you want. I'm just going to add some little red and white candy cane twine here. And my ornament is complete. And it is so cute. How adorable is that? I can just imagine having a whole tree filled with these cute little puffy ornaments. And again, if you don't want yours puffy, you absolutely do not have to stuff it like I did. And you don't have to go as excessive, but I like it fluffy, like I said. Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple other options for some other ways you could customize these ornaments. So this is the traditional way that it's stitched. It's exactly as the directions would show you if you follow your PDF directions. But here are some other options for some ways you could do this. So this one, I again used felt, but I applied some heat transfer vinyl to my felt before I stitched it. And here at Designs by JuJu, we really like Caesar brand because it is so fun. Look how sparkly that is. And then I just finished it off again with some twine and I added some cute beads. Now this one you will see is not stuffed. I just made it a flat ornament. So this could go on a gift. You could again hang it on your tree, but it is so pretty. It is just really striking with that sparkle and the beautiful white stitching. Another option is to use some embroidery vinyl. So here I used some embroidery vinyl. And embroidery vinyl is different than heat transfer vinyl. And again, I stuffed it with a little bit of stuffing and I stitched the opening closed with a needle. I added a little bit of jute twine here, added a bow. It is so pretty. Make sure that whatever embroidery vinyl you use for your project is capable of withstanding some dense satin stitches. Not all embroidery vinyl can handle those satin stitches and it can actually tear away. So just make sure that whatever you're using, it's high quality and can withstand those stitching. This one, I used burlap. And I added this cute little keychain at the top, a little gingerbread charm. I love gingerbread men. I did apply some Heat and Bond Light to my burlap to give it a little bit more structure. This one is also not stuffed. It's just a cute little flat ornament, but oh my goodness, it's absolutely adorable. And then the final one I made is a little backpack charm for my daughter. And this is with fabric. So as you can see, this is a little stitched together stuffy. So you would stitch it exactly the same, but when it comes time to the ending, instead of placing your fabric, your felt on the back, you're going to place your fabric directly on top of the hoop, what you stitched. And if it's a directional fabric or a print, you'll want it right side facing down, okay? So right sides will be together, and then when you flip it through the opening on the side, you'll have some fun fabric and a cute little charm. I also didn't stitch the eyelet. I added a little elastic with a backpack charm, and I know my daughter's absolutely going to love this. And again, I stuffed it super full. So these are just many of the options you could do. I know there's 1,000 other ways that you could customize these cute little ornaments. But oh my gosh, aren't they so fun? And as I said, this is Nordic Ornaments 2, set 2. There is also a set 1. So you could mix and match these and really have your tree looking so adorable. They would also be so cute as a little stocking charm. Oh my goodness. Or as gift tags. The options are so limitless. We've just completed stitching the In the Hoop Nordic Ornaments Set 2. I demonstrated how to stitch this project completely in the hoop and assembled using some polyfill and some hand stitching at the end. We also looked at creative ways to embellish your ornaments and ways to customize them for other projects, including stocking charms, gift tags, and backpack squishies. If you liked Nordic Ornaments Set 2, make sure to check the description box for a link to Nordic Ornaments Set 1. I hope you have enjoyed today's tutorial. Make sure to check the description box for helpful links. Also, check out the Designs by JuJu Blessing Facebook group for more tips, tricks, and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy stitching!